All right, you hear that? Nothing, because it's the quiet before the storm. The long holiday weekend's on deck, and then the fight to save the post office kicks back into high gear. The $25 billion lifeline to help USPS before Election Day is still sitting on a table in the Senate. Well, with Congress on break for the past few weeks, today Senator Tim Kaine answered some of your questions about the fight to fund the post office as time is running out. WUSA 9's Mike Valerio has the latest on what Senator Kaine had to say. So, Mike, did he seem optimistic at all? We know he's in the minority.
All right, and Adam, because of that, in short, he didn't seem optimistic at all. You know, this was a Zoom call between the senator and his constituents from all across Virginia. And Adam, when Senator Kaine was asked the question of what, if any, reforms can happen within the post office between now and Election Day, that critical period, he said probably nothing. It's going to take, from his point of view, a new administration for those reforms to happen.
Tonight, on the eve of the last weekend of summer, battle lines are being drawn in the Senate. $25 billion to fund the post office is still hanging in the balance. As Republican leader Mitch McConnell says, concerns are overblown.
The post office is not in trouble. We're going to make sure that they are able to deliver our ballots.
Virginia Senator Tim Kaine doesn't see it that way, taking aim at the efficiency cuts made by Postmaster General Louis DeJoy. The senator answered questions on today's Zoom call about what should happen to ensure that November goes smoothly.
The main thing that Congress needs to do is to make sure that all of these foolish changes that DeJoy made get reversed, that the sorting equipment gets reinstalled, and that there be funding there between now and Election Day and past Election Day so that people can have confidence.
DeJoy did testify on Capitol Hill before the August recess and said the changes he made are to keep the USPS from hemorrhaging billions. Democrats liken the disassembling of mail sorting machines nationwide to sabotage. Sylvia from Charlottesville agreed.
My question is about accountability for the things that have happened with DeJoy.
I think one of the priorities needs to be to make the Postmaster General position in the United States something that's Senate confirmable so that they actually have to answer to the people's elected legislative body.
Then there were questions Senator Kaine simply could not answer about why medications still are not being delivered on time.
It's taken almost 3 weeks to get my medication, you know, from Richmond and left, and it's not even like 40 miles from my house to Richmond, you know, and
nobody should have to go through what you're going through right now.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
The question in the middle of that story right there from Sylvia from Charlottesville was pretty interesting, Adam. And she asked, okay, what kind of accountability can we have? And the senator responded, well, we need this guy to be confirmed by the Senate. We need this position to be Senate confirmable. Adam, what happens, and for everybody in our audience who doesn't follow the workings of the post office, there are 9 governors who control the post office. Those governors are appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate, and then they are the ones who pick DeJoy, the Postmaster General. The Postmaster General himself, not confirmed or vetted by the Senate. Adam.
Right, and a lot of the answers we heard from Senator Kaine still not enough to keep people from feeling nervous in the lead up to Election Day, and of course feeling nervous about getting their prescription medication on time. All right, Mike, thank you.